First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Utica Police Sergeant Michael Curley joining us, and a sad topic, a violent weekend in the city of Utica. Good morning, Sergeant. How are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
There were 2 homicides this weekend, and then a third man severely injured. Can you talk about the violence that we saw in the city of Utica over the weekend?
Sure. So 2 that occurred on the 3rd, on Saturday, the 1st at 1:45 p.m. at 100 Rucker Street, the Historical Park Apartments. A male, Gary McCorkle, was shot in the chest there and ultimately died soon after being transported to St. Louis Hospital. While our officers were handling that scene, another call came out to the 1000 block of Jefferson where a young 14-year-old male was shot once in the head by a 15-year-old male while inside a residence there. So later that evening, about midnight 30, we got our officers who were still working those 2 scenes, unfortunately, got called to the intersection of James Street at Seymour Ave regarding a gnarly male gunshot victim who had been struck as his car was fired upon and was driving away through the rear windshield, and ultimately the bullet struck him in the back of the head. He was transported to St. Louis Hospital, where he went to Syracuse Hospital for additional surgeries, and thankfully, we're happy to report he is still alive, albeit in very critical condition, but we understand it's responding to some stimuli, so we're hoping for some good news after a weekend like this.
Sergeant Curley, all of these 3 incidents, what's the hour time frame or the day time frame? Was this all in a 24-hour period that these 3 incidents occurred?
Yeah, so 1:45 p.m., 3:30 p.m., and then 12:30 a.m. So spanning almost 12-hour period, much less than a 24-hour period.
Is there anything that
you said 12 hours?
Sure. Yeah, I mean it was 1:30, 3:30, and then midnight again. So all in the same span of time.
Wow.
But you know what? No, that one happened on the 5th. So let's carry over. So yeah, a 24-hour period. I apologize.
No, that's all right.
Do we know? I'm not asking you to speculate at all. Do we know anything as far as the motive in these shootings? I mean, the one I'm really asking about is the 14 and the 15-year-old. And that incident coming within a home. Do we have any idea what prompted that incident, why it escalated to that level?
We do, and I'm going to be kind of careful just because it's probably ended up in the family court system, so a lot of information is privileged as a result of that. However, it appears that these kids had a loaded handgun within the residence, and they were pointing it at one another, perhaps believing that the safety was not on and kind of screwing around with each other, and one pulled the trigger, and they were feet from each other, and a tragedy resulted. Just young kids possessing handguns is the theme that we're seeing lately.
So there is some thought that this was an accidental situation, not an intentional?
With respect to the shooting, there are some circumstances that I can't get into surrounding the precipice before that that lead us to the charges that we charge of murder second, attempted robbery first, and criminal possession of a weapon second. So, you don't necessarily, for murder second, there are particular categories that while in the commission of another felony, someone dies, you can charge murder second. So that's what we're alleging in this particular case.
And then any idea as to what happened in the first shooting around 1:45 Saturday, the one at the apartment building on Rutgers Street, or what prompted the shooting involving the man who was driving away on, I think you said James and Seymour?
Yep. So on Rutgers Street, we are expecting an arrest to be imminent. We have identified a strong suspect that we are looking for. On that one, I'm probably not going to get into a whole lot more, if that's okay, because we would like to interview the individual.
Of course.
And in the third one, it appears that some sort of 4th of July block party was occurring. There was an altercation in the roadway, resulting in an individual firing shots as the vehicle fled. I really would like to note that our officers, we talk about community police partnerships, and there are some really strong partnerships we have. But when we get on scene and there's 150, 200 people, and we get on a very serious homicide, a very serious assault scene, and our officers are being assaulted and prevented from aiding the individual who needs immediate care, that's not a strong partnership in our opinion. We do our very best to get out there and treat everybody fairly and protect everybody we can, and we just need assistance on these things. Maybe even if you don't want to cooperate or be a direct participant, please don't hinder our abilities, and please don't attempt to harm our officers that are just trying to render aid and investigate a major scene.
See, that's the sickening part of all this, is it's not that, you're not getting cooperation or anything like that. But when first responders are trying to, in some cases, save someone's life or protect other people in that situation, and they're being assaulted. I just cannot comprehend that. How we've gone off the rails with regard to that, I just don't understand.
And I think it's the larger picture of particular individuals who just don't think about what they're doing. And a lot of this gunfire is just rash decisions. It's people not taking a second to breathe, not taking a second to gather their thoughts before they commit a dangerous act. And then add alcohol and things to the mix, like we saw, on Sunday morning, and this is what happens. And we are just asking that, listen, please do not do this. Time is of the essence in any kind of major assault investigation. The more time you could staunch blood flow or provide aid, or the Utica Department can get in there and do what they do so fantastically, every second counts. And when we're being hindered and having to make arrests, and officers backs are being jumped upon while they're trying to render aid within the vehicle, and it's very, very difficult to perform the life-saving functions.
Can I ask you for one clarification? Is this for all EMS or just police that you're seeing this in Utica?
We've certainly been on scenes where the Utica Fire Department is treated poorly as well. I can only speak to, and I only wish to speak to, what we encounter, the police department on particular scenes, and in this one particularly, being the serious nature that it is. So, I'll let the fire department talk about the dangers they face every day, but, as far as we're concerned, this particular incident kind of just highlighted.
I also want to ask, were any arrests made in connection with, I think it was the last shooting of the weekend, the James and Seymour, that fire that you said there was kind of a party or a gathering, a couple hundred people. Was anybody arrested for?
Yeah. Yep. 2 parties were arrested for harassment against officers and resisting arrest, due as a result of the immediate scene going on there.
All right.
Really quickly, I just want to add one more thing, Sergeant Curley, and maybe you can talk about this as well. While I'm not saying that if these 3 were connected, it would have made me feel any better, it actually makes me feel worse that these were 3 separate incidents, because when you have, at least at this time, we believe them not to be connected, that you have 3 separate incidents of gun violence, 2 of which that led to homicides, and they're totally unrelated with one another. I think that is so discouraging, and I just don't know how to really comprehend that either.
Yeah, it certainly is very concerning. If you see, like you said, if it's retaliatory or related, at least you can make a nexus between them. But when there are 3 totally separate incidents, it just kind of highlights the amount of guns and violence that are out there. And unfortunately, you look at the news, and Syracuse had how many, 8 shootings over the weekend or whatever. Buffalo had 14, New York City had 26. So it's going on everywhere. It's not just Utica. It doesn't make anyone feel good. We live here. This is our city. This is what we have to protect. But for whatever the trend lately of increased gunfire, it just, the police and the community need to come together to put this to an end.
All right, Utica Police Sergeant Mike Curley, stay safe. We appreciate the information, and hopefully we don't have to talk to you again very soon. But 2 homicides in the city of Utica over the weekend. A 3rd man shot, actually struck in the back of his head while driving from the area of James and Seymour Ave, and then officers responding to the scene being assaulted. 2 more arrests were made for harassing and resisting arrest. Thank you, Sergeant Curley.
Guys, thanks so much for the time.